well, of almost entirely academics. And we started by pushing the academic boycott because we are academics. And a lot of work was done through the Lecturers' Trade Union, which is the University and College Union, UCU. And basically, all the motions that we put have been won at Congress with ever-increasing majorities, so that in the end there is nobody to argue with anymore. So that part has gone quite well. We won't get the union to, probably, not in my lifetime anyhow, to actually announce that it's going to tell its members to boycott, but it's done everything short of that. But more recently, we have been turning our activities also to cultural boycott. We have a member who is not present today who writes the most incandescent letters, which are both open letters and sent to the relevant people who are thinking of going to Israel, quoting back at them the words of their own songs and their own previous positions to dissuade them from going, or to point out to their fan base that it's inconsistent, that they should be going. We tend to join in only with the more intellectual cultural figures, because we're not very good on pop music and things like that, being of a certain age. But when we get to the people who might be writers or might be singers like Leonard Cohen, who have a broad reach but are extremely respectful and long-lasting, those are the ones that we tend to go for. I should say that if you want to find out about the academic boycott, it's not about the cultural boycott, the academic boycott, we have a Brickup pamphlet, which is excellent and is being offered at the knockdown price of £1 per. And there are spare copies here, and somebody will position themselves by the door on the way out if anybody wants one. Okay. I'm not going to be talking about the general case for academic boycott today. In fact, going back to cultural boycott, most of the effort is to persuade people not to go to Israel under current circumstances. And there are success. Sorry, I'm suffering from having travelled on an aeroplane 3 weeks ago and it hasn't gone away. There are successes announced every month. People who decide not to go. Many musicians and music groups decide, when it's pointed out to them, rather publicly, that they shouldn't, that they won't. There are failures as well as the successes. But failures are often successes in a roundabout kind of way. For example, 2 failures that Brickup was involved with. One was trying to persuade Leonard Cohen not to go, and the other one was trying to persuade the South African novelist Nadine Gordimer not to go. They went, and they spent most of their time having to explain why they were there and deal with the press back home, which was suggesting that they shouldn't be there in the first place. So it is a way of generating discussion around the issue of Israel and, of course, of academic and cultural boycott. It's easier to do this when the target the target comes to us rather than we have to try and dissuade somebody from taking a plane to Israel. And so, for example, when the Jerusalem Quartet performs in the Richmond Hall, or indeed up in Edinburgh, they are a target. And sometimes people get up and either sing in their concert or make short political statements. And the quartet then has responded, and a political discussion has emerged actually in the hall. Sometimes we just leaflet the concert. So it's impossible to tell in advance what will happen. And this is not Brickup, this is the whole boycott movement that does this. Some of you may remember the visit of the Israeli Philharmonic Orchestra to the Albert Hall, which was handled by a whole coalition of different groups of the London and indeed wider network. People came down from the north. And we had 45 tickets. And having written, of course, to the BBC saying they shouldn't have invited the Israeli Philharmonic Orchestra in the first place, and the result was, as probably everybody knows, BBC taking the concert off the air, and a lot of publicity around the world for the issue of when should one not be welcoming Israeli artists. The reason was not because the Israeli Philharmonic Orchestra players were our target, but that the Israeli Philharmonic Orchestra had aligned itself very publicly with the Israeli government and with the occupation. So those become the targets, not every cultural artist. We are pleased to say that we would interfere in no way with the freedom of artists who do not align themselves with the Israeli government. There is something coming up which maybe you've all heard about this one as too. This is in the future. In May, the Israeli National Theatre, Habima, is going to be performing at the Globe Theatre as part of the Globe's, what they call the Globe to Globe Festival, in which they are inviting people to perform Shakespeare in many, many different languages. And we have no objection whatsoever to Shakespeare being performed in Hebrew at the Globe. The issue is Habima Theatre, which I don't know how much background I need to go, but a couple of Israeli settlements in the occupied territories have set up halls of culture and are trying to stage theatrical performances there. A whole bunch of about 50 or 60 Israelis concerned with theatre, actors, directors, etc., said they would not go and perform there. And Habima eagerly seized the opportunity to butter up the Minister of Culture and say, yes, we'll go and do it, and we'll do whatever is needed to persuade our actors to go there whether they like it or not. So they have made themselves a target, and they will be one. And various things are afoot to try and make sure, to pressure the Globe in the first instance, because if the Globe withdraws the invitation, then that's no problem. Okay, on some occasions the academic boycott comes to us as well as the cultural boycott. And that happened for the first time to my knowledge, but it's the first time we responded to in early 2009, when the Zionist Federation of Great Britain booked the Science Museum for a day-long sixth form conference persuading British school children of the excellence of Israeli science. And we organised publicity about that. They did it in the Science Museum here and the Science Museum in Manchester, 2 separate days. And there was also publicity about this. We had, in fact, the whole front page of The Independent was given over to the fact of the protests which were organised with many eminent people signing letters saying this was not the way to use a great national institution. Well, that's sort of a rerun for what we're going through now, because he didn't go into the details, but there are 3 British partners in the Nano-Retox project. And they are King's College London, Imperial College London, and the Natural History Museum. Imperial College, we've written to all of them, we've written to the directors of all of these places and had the usual sorts of bland replies saying, oh, we don't believe in boycott, and the European Union said it was all right, so it's okay with us, and so on. Just say a little bit about the project. The projects are funded by the European Commission. It's under a program called the FP7, which is the Framework Program 7, shortly to be replaced by another program whose name I have currently forgotten, but the European Union is currently consulting on it. And these 3 out of 12 partners for this particular project, they always have to be international projects, were from Britain. And the Framework 7 allows Israeli organizations to be partners, because Israel is not a member of the EU, as you may have noticed, but it is given almost the same treatment in most of the rules that govern the spending of our tax money. So we are funding European Union is the 2nd largest funder of scientific research in Israel. So we have a battle on 3 fronts. One is with the European Commission, and we've had a delegation go there to persuade them that they should change the rules. But in particular, the reason why Habima Dead Sea Laboratories is a partner is because they claim to be in Israel, whereas in fact all their operations are in the occupied territories at a kibbutz called Mitzvah Shalem, and we think they excavate their mud elsewhere in the Dead Sea, but also within the occupied territory. And when we went and told the European Commission about this, they were definitely, it was news to them. They didn't know that they'd allowed in an occupied territory firm. And so we need to pressure them to make sure, that's one on the front, to make sure that at least that part doesn't happen again. And as the occupied territories are almost integral now to Israel's economy, this could give us quite a lot of scope for objecting to organisations getting grants. The second front, of course, is King's College London. Imperial hasn't been that busy as yet. King's College London, the first campus campaign against research projects joined with an Israeli institution. We very much hope it will be the model for more, and indeed there is an ongoing activity at LSE which has got a similar project with Technion, which is deeply integrated in the Israeli arms industry and the Israel Defense Forces. So, I'll just say a little bit about the campaign against the Natural History Museum, because so far it's going very well. As I said, we wrote to the heads of the three organisations and got responses, but the Natural History Museum seemed to us to be the target for us. For King's College students, it's King's College, but for us we have a national institution which is in bed with a firm that occupies the occupied territories. So, we put together a list of signatories to a letter, and you won't be able to see it, but I'll hold it up as evidence all the same. This was the independent letters page, and that is the letter, not only in prime position, but in bold, whereas everything else is not in bold. And it's signed by 3 Fellows of the Royal Society, eminent cultural figures like Jonathan Miller, Ken Loach, Mike Lee, and the whole group. I mean, there's not a few distinguished people and a long tail, but they're all spectacular people. I should mention about the person who's first, almost alphabetically, is Professor Sir Patrick Bateson, FRS, who is currently president of the London Zoological Society, which is a very significant position. But before that, he was provost of King's College. Now it's the other King's College. It's King's College, Cambridge, which is another very significant position. These are very senior scientists who've come out on this issue, and that's excellent to see. As a result of that, we are having publicity elsewhere, so that both arguably the second most important science journal in the world, Science, which is the American science magazine, has published an article on it this week. This was on Tuesday, by the way. That's on Tuesday. Already Science has an article on it, and Nature, which is arguably the most important science magazine in the world, has got an even longer article on it. So we have found the opportunity to send the message through to the very heart of the scientific community, which is where we need to recruit more support. So in many ways this is going better than we hoped, and we hope for quite a lot. It reminds me of an advertisement that they used to run for Heineken beer. I think that most people who are too young to remember it. Heineken refreshes the parts other beers cannot reach. And I think we are now refreshing the parts that so far the boycott campaign has had trouble reaching, and I think that's all to the good. We hope that it will promote critical thinking and a public declaration among scientists that they are not willing to take part. There is already a sizable silent boycott. I was actually met last night. I can't use his name because he hasn't given me permission, but one of those scientists who appears on television all the time is a significant figure, and his first name is not Brian. Another one, there are others. And he says that he hasn't been going to Israel for years, and he wouldn't accept an invitation. Now what I need to do is to persuade him to come out publicly with that, and that's hopefully, this is changing, we hope, the climate of opinion among science. We need people to come out not silently but noisily. And indeed, I think it's this week, isn't it, the French philosopher Jacques Rancière, who had announced he was going to Israel, was petitioned by many people in France and internationally, and has announced that he won't go after all. So that we have these achievements, and we should aim to get more. Just to slightly extend summing up, that's not all the content.